Welcome, and I'm glad you're all here. Let's start out by doing something that I would call the beginning to a murder mystery. You ever hear this at the beginning of a novel? It was a cold and gloomy day. It's kind of a basic beginning. As I look out my window in my studio, it's a cold and gloomy day. It's raining, it's thundering. You may actually hear the thunder, but I'm going to work through that. And we have a threat of tornadoes coming into the area. So to brighten things up, let's look at Photoshop CS5. What I want to talk about are what I call Andy's 10. All that really means is 10 features that I really do like about this program. A couple of them are just enhanced from older versions. Most of them are actually brand new. First one I want to show you is called Content Aware. It's a new feature that allows you to do a lot of things with different tools. What I want to show you, and look at this, I'm going to make a selection of that flamingo. Now, how did I do that? Again, this is a teaser. This is not a lesson. I just want to show you these features. I'll explain how they work when we get into the lessons. That's why it's called a teaser. I want to get rid of the flamingo. How do you do that? Select what you want to get rid of. In this case, we selected the flamingo, however you do it. I did it with something called an alpha channel down here. That's fine. Once it's selected, you can press your delete key on a Mac or the backspace key on a Windows system, which is basically deleting. Or you can go up to the word edit and go down to fill. Let's do this though. I'm going to press Command H. Now that's the Apple H, Command H on a Mac, or the Control H on a Windows system. And that hides temporarily that selection. Now it's still there, it's just hidden, because this way you'll be able to see this easier. Now we're going to go to the word edit, and we're going to go down to fill, and we're going to select under fill, Content Aware. That's really the only new feature inside fill. But check what happens when I do this. Now watch carefully the flamingo go away. It's an amazing feature. Gone. How would we have done that in a previous version? We'll actually get into that kind of thing, because this won't always work. But I want to tell you, this is an amazing feature. Content Aware deletion. It works with the healing brush, the spot healing tool, etc. So my number one, and these are not necessarily in order of how much I love them, my number one is the new Content Aware features. It is amazing. My next one on the 10 hit parade, if you will, is something that I really do like. It's called a mini bridge. Most of us are aware of what Bridge is. Bridge is an application that allows us to organize our files, open things, rename. We'll get into the bridge in detail as time goes on. Most of the time, though, I use the bridge for one specific purpose, is to open an image. I really don't want to go to the bridge, fill up the screen with the bridge, and make all that happen. So what Photoshop did, thank you very much, is they came up with something called the mini bridge, this button right here. You will notice I also have it as one of my flyouts right here. So you can get it either way. If you open it up, you get what's called mini bridge. Limited functionality in terms of the whole bridge, but it does most of the time what I want done, and that's open up an image. Say we come down here and move up and down. We have the different ones, recent folders. You got all your different favorites. You can add favorites over here. I want to open up this one right here. Just double click on it. Number 2 on my list, the mini bridge. It's a great tool to get the image open that you need quickly. Number 3, Puppet Warp. This is a new feature that is really cool if you use it and you know how to use it correctly. Now remember, this is a teaser. I just want to show how it works. We'll explain all the details later. I have a bird in a separate layer, and he's above all of this stuff. I want to warp the bird in a sense. Select the layer containing the portion you want to warp. Go up to the word Edit on the pull-down menu and go down to Puppet Warp. You'll see a grid appear. We can actually go to density and even make that denser, more points. Again, I'm just going to show you how this works, but check this out. We'll get right about here, right in the middle of his face, and click. Now, when you click, you're basically adding these adjustment points. All right, we're going to come back to this one, and I'm going to grab it and drag it. Now, watch what happens when I do. Let's say stop right about there. You like what you see? press the Enter key. Check that out. Puppet Warp. Number 3 on Andy's list of really cool things about CS5. The next thing on Andy's hit parade is what's called the new Merge to HDR Pro feature. Now, we've had Merge to HDR for a while. This is a new enhanced feature. I do like what it's doing. It deals with something called bracketed exposures. As you can see right here, I have 4 photographs. They're the same area. Actually, these are the ones that come as a demo with Photoshop, so you may actually have these. These 4 photographs here basically are the same area, different exposures. It's called a bracketed exposure. I'm going to drag and select those 4, which is a nice feature. You don't have to shift-click. What we're going to do is go to the word Content and scroll over all the way to here and click this button right there. Go into Photoshop and select Merge HDR Pro CS5. It's going to give me a warning. I'm using smaller images here to save time, so we're going to click through that. It wants raw images if it can get them. What it'll do is it'll open up the new feature, the Pro. Looks a lot like the old one, has a couple of new features though. For example, enhanced tone and detail. These have been there, but they're just better at what they do. Before I change things, look at what we've got. 4 images. This one's very dark, and this one's very dark, but it's got a lot of details on these beechwood logs. These are lighter, so we're losing the detail, but we have more of the background and the water. What HDR does is takes the photographs and basically merges them into one complete image with a dynamic range higher than any one photograph could ever have. If we change gamma, for example, and watch the image, you can see it's getting a little bit darker on the mids. If we go to exposure, we could lighten it or we could darken it. Now, what I'm trying to do, as you can see, is get more information on these tree trunks. We could come down to vibrance, give it a little bit more color. And, well, if you want to, you could take it down into a grayscale image. Or you could take it all the way and oversaturate it. Let me show you one more thing here, because this is just like a teaser or a demo. See the word Remove Ghosts? I want your eyes right here. Look at how that ocean area or that water area looks a little bit muddled. Now remember, these areas don't move. They're there. They're not going anywhere. But water moves between exposures. So in the attempt to put all of these together down here, it makes the water look a little bit ghosted. Well, watch this area. Again, keep your eye here. I'm going to click Remove Ghosts. Now watch over here and watch what happens. It'll take a second. Look at that. All the details come back in. We'll play more with this later on, but what we're doing is the new enhanced features in Merge to HDR Pro give us a much better way to take multiple exposures and combine them into one. A really cool feature. That's my number 4. Next on the countdown, number 5, CS Review. I'm doing this collaborative effort, and actually I am, on taking photographs of zoos, and there's a lot of other people around the planet taking photographs of zoos that are going to be combined together. What you are looking at right now is the entranceway to the deep, dark jungle of Wichita, Kansas, Sedgwick County Zoo, and you will notice we have a sign that says, "Warning! Do not touch or eat jungle plants. Some are poisonous." You know, if that were up to me, I think I'd make that sign a little bit bigger. I need to show this to everybody else. CS5 only. What you do is you come up here and you click CS Live and go down to Create New Review. Now, we'll go through the actual steps of doing that later. I just want to show you the results. Basically, if you come over here and click this button right here, you'll notice there's a button for CS Review. As you can see, after I sign in, it does it automatically. Here's the one I already saved. So if I click here, watch what happens. Notice what it's doing. It's opening up Adobe Acrobat. This account is my personal account. Everything I have in here is here, and anybody that needs to see it, I can give permission to get here no matter where on the planet they are. What can they do now? Well, let's say they love this photo, because where you click is where the note comes up. And you click here and actually say, "Really? Cool. Sign. Let's use this photo." And click Save. Everybody can make comments. They can go anywhere you need them to be. Make another one there if you want. and then they appear over here. It's a great way to do a collaborative effort on a big project where you're dealing with people either next door, doesn't matter where they are, or across the planet. CS Review, my number 5 pick. Number 6 to me is really a combination of things that I call efficiency. The new ways that we can use some of our tools that make things more efficient. For example, you can crop using what's called the rule of thirds grid. So if I come over here and pick up the cropping tool and draw on the screen, it comes up with what we call the rule of thirds grid. And in design, the rule of thirds deals with how we look at things and where we look at things from the top to the bottom, and it helps us kind of arrange a document the way we need it to be. Another one that I really do like, if you come over here and pick up, for example, your eyedropper tool, this is called the on-screen color picker. If I come over here and select, you'll notice as I move around, what you're looking at the bottom is the original color that you clicked on, and what you're looking at the top half is the color you're currently going to, and what will happen is when you let go of the mouse, that's the color you're going to get. Why is it surrounded by gray? Gray is a neutral color, helps the eye see the color that's on the inside. So that's called the internal or the new on-screen color picker. There's a lot of other things that help us get more efficient, even cropping automatically on photographs, lots of really cool things. So my number 6 is a lot of little things, but it's some of the enhancement features we'll be working through to make our lives easier as designers. Ready for number 7? I am. Complex selections made snap with a new feature. What I have here is a model. What I want for the model is I want to get her out of that background. Now, it's not all that bad. Trust me, when we do this later on, you'll see even complex ones are easy. What we're going to do here is I'm going to go into channels and make what's called an alpha channel mask. And again, we'll talk about that kind of thing later. First thing you do is make a selection. It does not have to be this good. Make a rough selection around the model. Then go up to the word select and go down to refine edge. Andy, that's been there before. You're right, but it's never had this before. Smart radius. We're going to turn it on. We're going to give ourselves a radius of about a 1. You experiment with that. Now, what do? You come down here and you just basically rip up the side, around the top, and down, in other words, her hair. About half on, half off. And her hair actually ends right about here. Now, watch what happens when I let go. I love this. Look at that. It has selected her hair. All these features, the hair. Now, we'll go more into these later. Click OK, which will bring her right back. And if I actually go ahead and maybe do a layer mask on her, check that out. We have successfully isolated individual strands of hair using this new feature and refining the edge. I love it for making complex selections. And believe me, later, we'll get into really complex ones. Number 8, a new feature in CS5 called repoussé. Now, I know I'm mispronouncing that, so I'm going to ask your forgiveness up front. Repoussé is an ancient, actually an honorable art form dating back as far as we go. And it was a process where they would raise a design or a relief in metal. And they use little hammers and things to make that happen. In this program, this little demo, let me just do something real quick, show you what it does. We have 3D extrusion, which is actually a text layer, and I'm selecting that. I'm going to go up to the word 3D and select repoussé. Now, we only have one thing, text layer. It's going to tell me that it must be rasterized. Now, if you know that, you don't have to worry about it. You say, don't show me again. I like to leave this up so you can see it. Click yes, and it will open up a dialog box, which will allow us to adjust or make more three-dimensional this object. We can choose a different face for it. We have quite a few of these. And we can come over here, as you can see, and we can begin changing it by using these items right here. So you can actually have a lot of fun with this thing and really play around with it. Again, we'll get into more practical ways you might utilize that in Photoshop. What this is doing for us, though, is it's giving us a visual three-dimensional aspect in a primarily two-dimensional program. Number 9 is just an example of some of the new actions that are available in CS5 and that can really help to make your life more efficient, but also actually give you some better results. For example, I have a photograph here of the Shipwreck Historium, and that's in Key West, Florida. Kind of an old place the pirates used to put stuff, I guess. Now I want to make it look a little bit older than it really is, so I want to give it a little bit of a sepia tone. There's a lot of ways I can do that. What I'm going to do is go up to my actions, and we're going to use one called Lab Black and White Technique, Photo Toner Technique. You add these into the actions palette. Later I'll show you how to do that. All you have to do really is select it and click the play button right down here. Now it's going to allow you to adjust hue and saturation by clicking continue. And as you can see, you can then begin adjusting the amount of the sepia that you want. Maybe even change the color itself and the lightness or darkness of that particular color. Now the cool thing I like about this, I'll click OK, is the whole process was made possible by a mask using the multiply blending mode, and then actually using this really cool layer mask to allow the brown color, the sepia, to be applied differently in different areas to create the effect that you see. So it's one of the new actions that come with CS5, all designed to help make our lives a whole lot easier. Last, but certainly not least, are some of the new painting effects that we have available in CS5. I look at these somewhat like there's another program out there by a different company called Fractal Painter, and I use it a lot because it allows me to emulate oil brushes and things like that. And I think Photoshop looks at that and they look for ways to bring a lot of that stuff in. For example, if I come over here and we have, of course, a paintbrush tool right here, but if you click and hold, the new brush is right here. It's called the Mixer Brush Tool. If I select that brush, I'm going to get this up here. Now notice what's happening. I'm using a drawing tablet, and the drawing tablet actually can record how I work in my angles. So it really returns, if you're an artist, almost like the feel of working with a brush. Now you have a choice of any of the brushes, fan brushes, just about anything that you want over here, and of course you can adjust the size. If I come over here just on this one flower, and as you can see begin, and it's your paint strokes that are working here. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to emulate, in a sense, a painted look to this flower. And we'll do much more with this later on. But as you can see, if we do this correctly, we can begin to make it look almost like maybe it's an oil painting and that we've worked with it. I like this because it does return, if you're using a brush, it does kind of return the feel of using a paintbrush in your hands on a computer system. And I think as an artist, that's actually a good thing to be able to do, is feel that difference. And as you can see, I'm just painting along here. And that device up at the top is showing me exactly the position of my drawing tablet in relationship to my brush as I move along this thing. And eventually you just kind of work it in until you've got almost like a painted look to it. With a little bit of practice and the right types of brushes, you can take a photograph and make it look like an art piece that you drew, or maybe even created as an oil piece. Pretty cool. New painting effects, number 10. That's a list of the 10 things that I think are really cool in CS5. Now let's get into some other areas of Photoshop.